KFI AM 640. It's Friday, thank goodness. We're live everywhere. The iHeartRadio app is later with Mo Kelly. And goodness, it's unfortunate I have to start with this, but I feel compelled to start with this because it's been the talker, the story of the day. Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa. And I want to make sure I acknowledge her by name. Saw far too many news reports where it was just Gene Hackman and his wife, as if she weren't a person of equal stature and standing in this story. But Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, I remember how I said, look, I'm going to wait. We're going to find out what happened. There would be an autopsy. There would be a toxicology, and we still haven't gotten the toxicology report yet. But we would get some of these answers. And far too many people, I mean, actual commentators, television personalities, of course, idiots on social media, could not wait to try to fill in all the blanks with some sort of conspiracy theory. Because they had moved to New Mexico or something, like they were hiding from someone who had to have been a hitman, or they died from carbon monoxide poisoning. But you know, it was actually a hit. They just wanted to make it look like that. Because why did one dog die and the other dogs? You heard all of them. You saw those. You probably read some of those. In fact, you probably wrote some of those. And I was just saying, there's no need to rush, speculate, and try to fill in the blanks ourselves. That's why we have, medical examiners. They were going to give us the answers, or at least some approximation. And they did just that. And if you don't know, they both died of quote unquote natural causes. Betsy Arakawa died of hantavirus from infected rodent droppings, if you know anything about the hantavirus. And Gene Hackman had some sort of heart disease, heart-related event, which led to his death. And he also had contributing factors of Alzheimer's. I'm not a physician, but that's basically the story. You might have heard Mark Ronner reporting on it.
He basically died of being 95 years old.
Imagine that. Most of us will not get to see 95.
That's a good long run.
It is a good long run. It's a terribly, terribly sad story as far as how this came to an end. And I think about Gene Hackman from what I know now as far as the advanced Alzheimer's, and how his wife, from what we know, Betsy Arakawa, preceded him in death. I wonder what was the last 6 or 7 days of Gene Hackman's life like. Was he aware that his wife had passed? Was he completely in control of his faculties? Or did he die from malnutrition as well? Was he able to feed himself? Because he obviously wasn't communicating with the outside world.
We need somebody from law enforcement or the family to fill in those gaps, in part to stop what you've been talking about, which is just the irresponsible conjecture from numbskulls.
And I think that makes the story worse. The irresponsible conjecture.
From?
The numbskulls.
Thank you.
Okay.
Say it.
Because he deserved better. They deserve better. And I think we, as a civil society, should do better. We live in this world where everything we don't immediately have all the answers to, or if we don't immediately know the results of an election, or if not everything is explained to us immediately, there must be some sort of conspiracy. There must be some sort of subterfuge, some sort of skullduggery or something. And we just want to make ourselves feel better, as if only I know the story. No, it's not what the media is telling us. We know what happened. Someone murdered them. It didn't have to end, the story at least, as far as how we told it. It didn't have to end that way. Gene Hackman deserved better. Betsy Arakawa deserved better. And we should know better and do better going forward. It was a sad story then, and we made it worse. We could have just waited until we got some solid reporting. The first report we remember is like, no, nothing suspicious, natural causes. And then people didn't believe that. Well, yeah, probably by first look, if you just find two people And then through more investigation, there was a degree of suspicion attached and a more thorough investigation. Then we get the autopsy results. In fact, no, we got the information from the gas company and said, no, there was no gas leak. So it was not carbon monoxide poisoning. As time passed, we got more and more information. We got closer and closer to the truth. But some people don't want the truth. Some people just want to irresponsibly speculate and provide conjecture. And so I think it makes it worse than it actually is. And there are some, because we're so conspiratorial, who won't accept that this is the actual truth because it does not jibe with what they have in their mind already. No amount of facts will make any difference. No facts will matter to those individuals. You know who I'm talking about. You probably are friends with them. You might be related to them. Hell, you might be one of them. And that's why I think we, in a societal sense, we have failed one another because we lose sight of our humanity. We lose sight of the fact that Gene Hackman, although he was a 2-time Academy Award winner, was someone's father, obviously someone's husband, someone's relative. And we lose sight of the fact that all that rampant speculation impacts the surviving members of the family. We forget that. We shouldn't forget it, but we obviously do. And some people don't even care. And when I was looking at just the general tenor of the commentary surrounding Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, it was flagrantly just disregarding good common sense and decency.
Well, what's the wildest thing you read?
Oh, it was a hitman.
Of course, yes. Why wouldn't you send a hitman out to take care of somebody who's 95?
I'm not kidding. I saw that a few times.
Yeah, a hitman from Mexico, and they kept stressing Mexico, and it's like, no, people, it was New Mexico, and I don't know why you're making the stretch all the way to Mexico as if that by itself is tantamount for assassination.
Because it's mixed in with our political ideology. New Mexico borders Mexico. Therefore, it must have been some illegal immigrant, they're not sending their best. That's the way I read that, seriously. Okay. Because it's not like Gene Hackman lived, as far as I know, some life where people were searching. Everyone knew where he was. It wasn't like he was hiding. He just removed himself from public.
They're sending people to kill our elderly actors. This is unacceptable.
That's how ridiculous it had gotten because people thought that they didn't immediately have all the answers given to them, that someone must have been hiding the truth.
Well, we do that in so many areas of our life, and I'm not even going to list them because I don't want the headache of complaints, but this whole incident that's been dragging on for days. I've written many, many obituaries in my journalism career, and you take extra care with those because it's often the last word on somebody, and you never want to make a mistake so much as a typo in the name, anything like that. You take extraordinary care with obituaries because also their family's feelings are at stake. Their family's going to read every word you write, and in this case, they're going to hear every word that's said as well. And what kind of monster would put something intentionally out there that they don't know for sure to be true?
That's who we are now.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. And there's a new Orange County 91 Freeway project, which broke ground today. Got to tell you about it. It's going to take like forever. It's never going to get done. The traffic's not going to get any better. Oh, I just did the whole story. Okay, well, we'll talk about it more when we come back.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
If you have lived in Southern California long enough, you have seen the progression and evolution of our freeway system. If you're over the age of, 45 or so, you may remember how long it took to get the 105 freeway actually built. It took forever and a day. Like, it finished maybe a decade after it was supposed to be done. If you remember, like the early 1990s, all the work they were doing on the 5 freeway going south towards Orange County, and it seemed like they were doing work on the 5 for freaking ever, for a good decade. There was always construction. There was always something slowing down the flow of traffic on the 5 freeway. You might remember the expansion project of the 405 freeway going to the valley. over the hill, as they say. That took forever. And they were all done in the hopes of alleviating traffic. And I'm quite sure all of us would agree traffic is still as horrible as ever. It took me 2 hours to drive 22 miles today. 2 hours, no exaggeration. And I've been here for all of those expansion projects, widening of the freeways, insertion of the high occupancy vehicle lanes. Called them the diamond lanes back in the day. None of it has helped. That's why I'm a little bit more cynical than most when I come across a story about some sort of freeway improvement project, which is going to help alleviate traffic. I just kind of start shaking in anger because I don't know if it's going to turn out any differently. But supposedly for efforts to improve driver safety and relieve congestion, that's how it's being billed, on the 91 freeway in Orange County, a 5-year, $779 million project is underway. And I'm not here to talk about the money spent. Look, someone's getting paid. Someone has a job. Fine. I'm just saying I know what the history was when it comes to these expansion projects. The Orange County Transportation Authority, in partnership with Caltrans, broke ground on the SR 91 improvement project today. And the project is supposed to take place in 3 phases along a 5-mile stretch between SR 57 and the 55 at Lakeview Avenue with a completion target date of 2030. Remember what I was saying about the 105 freeway? It's probably not going to be finished by 2030, but let's say it's finished by 2035. All right. How much is it really going to change the flow of traffic? I know, I mean, you got to do something, but we've talked long and hard about the people who were supposedly leaving California because California is just so horrible. Thousands and thousands of people are leaving. And remember what I said? I said, thank you. Thank goodness. The more people that left, hopefully the better the traffic. Because for me, it was never political. It was all about my commute. I'm selfish like that. I know with fewer people on the road, fewer people in the state means fewer people on the road, fewer runners that are probably given out. Everybody wins.
We're not doing that. That's not what those are.
What are what?
Those already have a number of names. We don't need to call them by my name.
You should. I think you ought to get that trademarked.
I don't. There must be some more fruitful way to attack this problem.
You're stuck with it now. People are just going to think of the Bird and Mark Ronner.
Thank God nobody's listening.
Yeah, no one's listening. But improvements include the reconstruction of on-ramps and off-ramps, the addition of a regular eastbound lane for a portion of the project, and interchange improvements to lessen the need for drivers to merge and weave. Okay, I hope so, but it's only 5 miles, and I've driven that portion of the 91 for the past 30 years at least. I've been driving for 40 years and probably, closer to 40 years. So I know that section of the freeway real well. Spent a lot of time in the Fullerton area, not too far from there. I don't know how much is going to make anything better. I personally think, and this is just me, if we put more effort and emphasis into our railway system, and that goes out beyond just LA Metro, that's more like MetroLink going out that way, that would be more of a viable alternative. But we're so stuck in our cars, and it's almost impossible to think of life outside of our cars. I wish people could see other cities. And I know LA is so expansive. It is so spread out. The whole idea of not being in a car, for most people, I get it. It's not feasible. And it's not safe to either. But that's a whole other discussion. But here's another freeway project. I'm quite sure it's well-intentioned. I'm quite sure it's even necessary. And I'm quite sure it probably will improve the flow of traffic at that 5-mile portion for a lot of people. But I don't know if we will ever be able to get ahead of the traffic issue here in Southern California. And to only really understand it, you had to have lived through it and seen it. Now, if you come, like Mark Ronner, if you come from another state, it's just bad traffic. But if you grew up here and you've lived here your whole life, you've seen how it has gotten progressively worse by decade. It used to be the 110 freeway was never all that crowded. And my first job was downtown. I think it was like 8th and Hill Street when I was working for the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra. So this is the early 90s. It was a straight, easy stretch straight downtown. Didn't have any problem. And that was before they had the fast track lane. That was before they had the real high occupancy vehicle lane. It was only, if they did, it was only one lane. So they weren't trying to cram everybody over to the right in those lanes, and it was easy to do. Now the 110 freeway is just horrible. I can't speak for Stefan, but for me, it only opens up if you're going south after you get past Slauson. You got to get past Slauson, and then it'll start to open up a bit when you're just north of the Inglewood area. And if you're going north, it's just bad because you're going towards downtown. You know, they can, and part of the reason, and here's how it's connected. Part of the reason why it's so bad is because they put in those fast track lanes that only 4 cars use. 5, if you include Stefan, because he uses them. Tell me I'm wrong, Stefan. Not a lot of people use the fast track lanes.
You're not wrong about that at all.
And then all the rest of us regular people, we're in the regular lanes, just stuck. I think it's 4 lanes.
Yeah. No, it's 2 lanes. But
No, I'm talking about the regular lanes. So they're 4.
Oh, yeah.
And the fast track is 2 lanes, but they're 2 huge lanes.
Yeah.
I say that to say, if you took out the fast track lanes, and I know that's about money, and you just had 6 lanes of people just driving, it would be better for everyone.
Because technically, I think that used to be the Diamond Lane.
Yes, it was. It was.
And now it's fast track.
Right. And it's double the width.
Yeah.
Because there was only 1 lane for the Diamond Lane.
Yep.
And you could conceivably have 6 lanes going in both directions at that point on the 110. And that probably would alleviate the traffic problem, at least on the 110. And I say that because I know they have the fast track lanes in Orange County on the 91 right around that point as well. How do I know that? Because I accidentally got in one of those lanes one time, and they have these like vertical dividers. You can't drive over them.
You're literally stuck in there.
Yeah, you're stuck in there. So, and I accidentally took the wrong way.
And they'll scan you.
Yeah, and I got the ticket later on. My point is, if we did the things which made more sense as opposed to always trying to make a profit on everything, I believe the traffic would be less of an issue. If we had 6 free-flowing lanes in each direction, which they can in most portions of these freeways where they have fast track, it would not be as bad.
I want to know Fuchsia's secret. What do you got, a blow-up doll or a mannequin to put in your passenger seat? What are you doing?
No, you can do it with fast track. Tell them.
Oh, fast track? Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, that's why they made fast track, because you don't have to have someone in the car with you.
Oh, well, I'm too cheap for whatever that cost.
No, and I'm too cheap also. And my problem was it doesn't go past downtown. If they had fast track, which went through downtown,
I would
to the 5, just get me to the 5 from the 110. I would pay big money for that. But it stops at USC, and you're still a good 5 or 6 miles from downtown.
Right at the Galen Center.
Yeah, right at the Galen Center.
Now do trains. Anybody who has ever been to Europe and then sees LA's traffic,
thank you,
will just be insane with rage. Like, why can't we have what they have?
Because they plan their infrastructure and they put money into their infrastructure.
And they don't have lobbyists buying off Congress with money from fossil fuel.
That's true, too. That's true. I'll allow that.
Will you?
It's later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Yes, 2 hours to get in today. 22 miles, 2 hours.
Yikes.
2 freaking hours, one direction.
I can tell you used the time to meditate.
I did. No, seriously. I did. That's why I usually turn off the radio and I just try to stay in a calm state in my thoughts, maybe return some phone calls. That's a great time to do. I got 2 hours to kill. Why not?
Oh, yeah, you're giving off a real sedate vibe right now.
It sounds almost like he was being sarcastic.
Never.
When we come back, we got to remind you it is daylight saving time change weekend or something like that on Sunday. Yes, the days are going to get longer. We're going to have more sunlight, and I'll be in a much better mood, Mark. Much better mood. And also, you notice the traffic will get better because of daylight saving.
Is that how that works?
Or at least depending on the time that you leave work. I'll tell you on the other side. I got some good news for you.
We know the bars are closing an hour earlier.
No, it's not that, Mark.
Okay, let's do it.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
But I'm actually happy about this particular Friday because that means this Sunday we'll go back to daylight saving time. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I actually look forward to it in the way that I dread when daylight saving time is over and we go back to standard time. I do know, going back to last segment, I was talking with Mark Ronner about why it impacts traffic. And this is anecdotal. I don't have any data to prove this, but I do notice a considerable difference. We were talking about traffic. During daylight saving time, since we have more sunlight, or I'll say a shifting degree of sunlight, I find that people tend to spread out the time in which they're going home. They will stay at the office a little bit later, and the whole 5 to 6 o'clock p.m. crunch is not as difficult to manage. And because people will stay later at work because why? The sun's out. But when the sun is down and it's dark at 4:30, reasonable people's like, oh, my day's over. So you get on the road around 4:30, 5 o'clock. It's absolutely hell. Everybody's trying to go home at the same time. And also during daylight saving time, you get closer to spring break and also summer break. So there are fewer cars then into the summers. It's just better all the way around. I don't have to wake up and it's pitch black dark at 7:30 in the morning. Look, stop laughing, Stefan. If you're not going to give me a rim shot, I wish you could see him. He's eating food that Tuwala got for the team tonight. Thank you very much, Tuwala.
Quite welcome.
And he's like listening to the show. He's not in the show. He's just as just a listener.
Well, he's
like,
got his priorities.
It's like, wow, this is a funny show. And he's going to laugh at my jokes. And see, it's not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be at the ready because I might say something very funny at any moment. Hush, Mark.
Yeah, you want to be ready for that. Be on a hair trigger for Mo being funny.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. But the point is, that's why I do look forward to daylight saving time. Just more sunlight. I'm in a much more cheery mood. I don't like the winter. I don't like the cold. I don't like the darkness. It's all good starting Sunday.
I admire your adherence to daylight saving time with no S on the end of it.
That is a remnant of Chris Little.
That's exactly right.
Now, there is some dangers with this time change. It's not all good, Mo.
What are you talking about?
There are some mental things that we have to deal with that if we are not ready, all of that traffic and all of the bad driving and all that, it just compounds because of the time change. People's rhythm is thrown off. Sometimes people aren't getting as much sleep because they're prepared for getting up earlier. So it's just everything is bad. And mentally, these are proven scientific facts. Many studies have gone into proving that just the time changing alone is bad. But come Monday, we could be in for some more accidents.
Well, I'll be fine. It won't be a problem. I don't drive the same time as all these other hooligans and hoodlums and runners out there. I don't. I usually get on the road at like 2 o'clock or something. That's why I get to avoid more of you. I'm not in that morning crush of traffic, and I'm not in that evening crush of traffic. It's worse now because it's daylight saving time. What I dealt with today, I left the house a little too late. I got on the road at like 3:15, and that's the kiss of death. Can't do that because that means I'm hitting downtown. It took me an hour to go 10 miles to downtown, and I looked at my clock. It was 4 o'clock, and I was just downtown. I left a little bit after 3. And by then, it's way too late because people are actually leaving work. Like if you got to work at 7 a.m., you're probably leaving around 4.
I think it's the change that screws most people up. Just pick a thing, pick one, and let's stick with it because it's the going back and forth that requires like a week of adjustment.
I agree. I wish we would just stay at daylight saving time the whole time. I would not want to be standard time. But I would like to minimize the amount of darkness. That's just me.
I don't care. Just pick one. Because we're not an agricultural farming society like we were when this started.
But we do have a huge agriculture industry in California.
Yeah, but back, I would say a generation or two before you and I, the majority of Americans belonged to farming families in one way or another, and now it's a sliver of that.
What year is this you're talking about? Because you're older than me. I don't know if we're in the same generation.
Listen up, Grandpa. You don't want to get into this. I was, like the 50s and earlier.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't alive then, so I don't know.
Well, neither was I.
Oh, you were talking like you knew, so I'm thinking like, okay, you must have been born then.
Well, I've been exposed to mass media. Is that okay?
Oh, you did your research.
I've seen Mystery Science Theater shorts on truck farming.
Yeah, you got me beat on that one.
Okay.
But I'm good with staying with daylight saving time. I really am, year round. If they kill it and get rid of it, will probably be just standard time year round. And there's some states like Arizona, they're just standard time year round. But I wouldn't want it. I would want daylight saving time. That would be preferable for me. If I had a vote in this, which I don't, if I had a vote, I don't care about you or your life.
There's also scientific research that shows that waking up early is detrimental to people's health. And I'm not making that up just because I'm lazy and like to sleep in.
It's a shock to the system.
Yeah.
No, I know that. And I've argued that point with my wife because she is a morning person. And she would try to tell me, hey, you just haven't had the right job. If you have the job, you will eventually become a morning person. No, I won't. Nope. I will never become a morning person. My first radio job was Jim Rome, and his show was on from 9 a.m. to noon. We had to be in the office between 6:30 and 7 a.m. with a commute before that. All right? No. I will never be a morning person.
I wouldn't last a week.
No, being the morning person sucks.
And you have to get up before dawn every morning.
Every morning, and it's not cool. It's really, really not cool at all.
What is a typical morning for you?
I have, 11 alarms that have to keep me up. I have my 6 a.m. alarm. Then I have a 6:15, a 6:30, a 6:45, a 7, 7:15, and so forth and so on. And each of these 15-minute increments is just in case I stop for a minute and sit down and doze off. So it's to constantly keep me going because I got to get up, got to make sure my daughter's getting ready, got to make sure that my son is not giving me, yeah, I'm up. And then 20 minutes later, I go in and he's still head under the cover. That's a lot. But that's only after leaving here at like 2 in the morning.
You couldn't pay me to do Bill Handel's show. You could not pay me. There's not enough money.
You never had to fill in for him?
Oh, I have many times.
Yeah.
Many times.
Yeah.
And it was absolute hell because I'm getting up at 3:34. I'm getting on the road by 4:15. I don't mess around. I don't have a snooze alarm or anything like that. When my alarm goes off, it's a conversation I have with my clock. My clock has already told me it's time to get up. You cannot sleep anymore. You don't have any snooze. Get up. When the alarm goes off, it's time to move. I usually, I'm my own parent. I put my clothes out for the next morning, the night before, because when I'm waking up in the morning, I can't find anything. I can't think straight. So I need everything ready the night before. And to all of, if I'm going to do an interview or something, I'm always preparing the night before. Can't do it the day of.
This is why all my clothes look the same. I don't want to deal with that.
Right. People don't know this, but I'm usually wearing gray or black or whatever because it's just easier that way. It's easier. But anyhow, I put my clothes out the night before when I'm doing like Bill Handel or anything real early in the morning. If I'm doing Bill Handel, I have to leave the house by, I want to say 4:15.
The previous day.
Yeah, it's like 4:15 in the morning. It's going to be like 30 minutes or so to get to KFI 4:45 because I try to be there before wake up call starts. Because whoever, if it was Jennifer Jones-Lee in the past, she may want me to talk with her during a given segment, what have you. Then you have the show, which starts at 6 a.m. And I'm a person, I don't like getting to the station like a half hour before I go on the air. I can't do that. I am not mentally or emotionally ready to do a show 30 minutes after walking in the door. I can't do it. I usually get here at least 3 hours before the show. And I'm not saying that as a boast. I'm just saying that prepares me and relaxes me to do a show. So Bill Handel, whenever I would fill in for him, it was hell. It was absolute hell on me. And then I go home. Let's say I get home at 10 or 11 a.m. I got to take a nap. I can't do it.
Oh, those wake up call shifts are murder. I sat in with Jennifer Jones-Lee once and I thought, I'm going to think my way around this problem and just stay up all night. I was almost hallucinating by 10 a.m.
Yes. It is really difficult to wake up in the middle of the night. I can't go to sleep before midnight anyway. So the whole idea of going to sleep at 8 p.m. to get a decent night's sleep before getting up at 3 a.m. is just not possible.
You should never have to do that if you're not churning butter, milking cows, and helping to raise a barn with your friends in overalls.
Oh, wait a minute. I lived in part of the city even now where I have neighbors in the neighboring communities which have roosters, and they will go off at any time of the day because of the street lights. It throws off their natural rhythm as far as when the dawn is. So it's really hard sometimes to get to sleep in my neighborhood.
Open season on roosters.
Look, between them and the coyotes, we got problems. We got misunderstandings. It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And I got to let you know this real quick. Angel City FC kicks off their 2025 season Sunday, March 16th at home against rival San Diego Wave. Every fan in attendance will receive a souvenir flag and schedule magnet. Get tickets before they sell out on angelcity.com and stream all games in HD on the iHeartRadio app, keyword Angel City FC.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And you can also find us on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your favorite podcasts, you can find us as well. Oh, and just to let you know, we got like 30 new Spotify listeners last night, who followed us. Yes. So if you like Spotify, you can listen to the show there as well. Yes. Got like a 20 to 30 YouTube subscribers this week as well. So people are finding us just from other non-conventional ways where you may not think of listening to podcasts. Absolutely.
Just wait till we kick off that next thing that we're working on.
Oh, we can't tell them yet, but yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Let me tell you about this luxury resort in northern San Diego County. It recently began banning guests under the age of 18 from staying overnight. In other words, no kids allowed, and kids that could be 17 on down. And this is called the Alila Marea Beach Resort, and it's in Encinitas. And the question here is whether you can make a hotel adult only. There's a question of whether it violates California civil rights laws that ensure equal access to businesses and public accommodations. Well, here's the question. Because I know private establishments, you can have adults only establishments. You have adults only cruises. There are all sorts of events which say you're not going to have kids. But since it's a beach, everyone should have access. That's the question. And I don't know because the resort is not the beach. What I mean by that is the resort is the private business itself. The beach, I guess, is public to a certain degree. I mean, do you have a civil right as a minor to stay in all establishments?
So the resort as it's built, the property, the hotel, all the grounds, that's the private business. But once it gets out into the sand, that's public beach.
Yeah, that's the question. And we had a similar issue with Malibu. People who were residents did not want people who didn't live in the area from using the beach or accessing the beach. And if I remember correctly, Mark, you may remember, did you cover the story where the Malibu residents were trying to keep out people who didn't live there from surfing? And there was a question of whether they should have legal access to the beach itself.
Yeah, but it's been so long that I don't recall the particulars of it.
Yeah, I remember this is something which is not new in and of itself. I'll look it up. But the question is, where does the property line of the resort begin and end? If it's only a function of having access to the beach area, that's one thing. But this, as I read it, has to do with staying at the resort, which to me is a no-brainer. I mean, there are all sorts of businesses that, it's just for adults only. And I use the example of cruise ships. That's a private party, if you will, that you're paying. It's basically a resort on the water that you're paying to stay at. And Yeah, I don't know what the difference is.
The argument against that doesn't make sense if only for the fact that we have things called bars, and bars are 21 and only. Why? Because you have to be 21 and over in California to drink. This is seemingly a no-brainer. If it's a private establishment, they've bought the land, they put the hotel and all the amenities on it. It's their property. Yeah, you can keep people from coming.
And there's other precedent. I mean, the policy is not unique among short-term accommodations. Even in San Diego County, countless hostels have age restrictions in place, as well as other major resorts like Vista Health Spa Hotel and 2 major casino resorts, which goes back to your point about bars. You know, casinos are no different in that regard. But there's still a question of whether it's legal. California has broad protections against quote unquote discrimination by businesses under 1959 law called the UNRRA Civil Rights Act. And the law prevents enterprises from implementing policies that arbitrarily deny equal access to their services based on a person's characteristics like race or sex. But this is not characteristics.
Yeah, no.
There are age limitations in all sorts of business establishments.
Yeah.
That isn't new. Age is not, as of yet at least, a protected group.
No, because there's I remember once upon a time when the ArcLight existed, they did not allow babies into their movie theaters. It's no different. It's saying we prefer a clientele that is of a certain age. They say nothing about race. They say nothing about gender. They say nothing about how anyone identifies. None of that. It is simply you must be over the age of 21, no matter how you're coming.
Personally, I like establishments that don't allow kids, but that's just me.
No.
That's just me.
You're far from alone on that.
Oh, no. I want to book a spot here because I'm all about this. I'm all about this.
So wait, what resort is this? Where is this? Alila Marea Beach Resort. Yes, we're on our way.
Yeah, live broadcast. We love you. Thank you for what you're doing.
No crumb snatchers, no rugrats.
Woo!
You damn right. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.